Sheila, so I just don't see anything coming from Drea. I think we're just going to be a couple minutes delayed.
Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. I am your regular host, Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm on the wrong side of the screen today.
Yeah, it looks
Efron,
really
it's
weird.
I'm lost. This is the Rebel News daily news and opinion show. It's called Rebel Roundup, where we round up the news of the day and then we talk to each other and to you about them. I'm normally joined by a rotating cast of characters. Today it's Drea Humphrey in BC. Drea, how's it going?
It's going good. I got some juicy BC politics to discuss that I'm excited about, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about BC politics because even though the Conservatives didn't win the election there, they're already making waves and keeping the NDP on their toes. And I like that because I think going forward, the NDP are always going to have to be in the legislature because if they aren't, they could potentially fall on a confidence vote. Like nobody cannot show up and do something else in the legislature, which I really enjoy. Drea, I'll give you the opportunity to tell people how they can get involved in the show and support the show, take care of some of the housekeeping stuff while I look and see what we're going to do first.
Yeah, one of the best parts of the daily roundup is that you can be a part of the show. And after years of us being demonetized, call it Trump, call it whatever, you can actually engage in a super chat with us again. We lost millions of dollars for standing in truth, telling the other side of the story, but for a brief moment in time, you can be a part of the show.
Yeah. Who knows how long that's going to last,
Who
right?
knows? Yeah, on YouTube by super chatting. What we do is you write a comment, let us know what's going on, what you think, and we read it for donations of $5 or more, and that keeps us running. That keeps the reports going out. Or if you're like, I've had enough of YouTube, of course, please hop over to our friends at Rumble, give us a Rumble rant, and support free speech that way, of course.
And just real quick, this is a message from past Sheila to future viewers. So if you're watching this right now and this is not live, so you're watching the recorded version of the show, you can also support us by leaving us a super thanks. So that is the paid comment afterwards. If you feel compelled, moved by the spirit to support the little network that could, you can do it in the form of a super thanks. So that is my message into the future. Let's get into the news of the day. Doug Ford won his third majority, and instead of just being grateful for calling an unnecessary election, he had to take a swipe at Donald Trump, because why even bring the heat down? Like he's going to tariff Ontario into dust. And instead of trying to mitigate some of that, Doug Ford never ceases to find a way to make it worse. Let's listen.
Donald Trump thinks he can break us. He thinks he can divide and conquer, pit region against region. Donald Trump doesn't know what we know. He is underestimating us. He is underestimating the resilience of the Canadian people, the Canadian spirit. Make no mistake, Canada won't start a fight with the U.S., but you better believe we're ready to win one. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. So, folks, let me be clear. Canada will never, ever be the 51st state. And Canada is not for sale.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So he dropped, 3 seats from last time? What did he get? 80 seats? He had 83 in the last election. So he did lose some ground. And of course, the independent, what's her name? Bonnie. Oh, it escapes me right now. Whispered in my ear, Efron. Anyways, Bobby Ann Brady, thank you. She kept her seat, so she was elected as an independent last time in a protest vote in a very rural riding. Well, not very rural, but a rural enough riding. These are dyed-in-the-wool Conservatives who think that Doug Ford is not conservative enough. They don't like how she was treated by the party. This is her second term as an independent there. So I think that would be a message to Doug Ford, but he's not willing to listen. And his speech, it's like sounds like he's speaking to Donald Trump for sure.
Yeah.
But those could be, that could be a speech given by anybody to the Liberals. Like, it could be like, you've tried to divide us. You've tried to break us. That sounds like somebody speaking directly to Trudeau. But as you know, Trudeau is Doug Ford's buddy now.
Absolutely. Third term, wasting all of those, all that money on another election to lose a few seats reminds me of the Liberals when they did that during COVID. But yeah, I think it's like you said, it's a very conservative place, but I think a lot of people would like to see a new leader if they could. Like, they want to vote conservative, which is, exemplified by that independent seat. But you still get Dougie. And he's taunting President Donald Trump, which I don't think is a wise political move.
It's odd. Like, as an Albertan looking in, if somebody's not conservative enough, we will burn the whole place down until we get somebody conservative enough. Like, we will fracture the party. People will go in all directions. That's what the Wild Rose Party was. And we'll just keep breaking things apart until we get it right, because there's something so immoral about voting for somebody who's conservative in name only. But it's a different sort of attitude in Ontario. I guess it is. I guess it's an attitude that is in politics everywhere. You just pick the least worst, which is Doug Ford, I guess.
Yeah, the lesser of evils, as they say. I mean, it would be nice to see that switch. But I don't know. He's still sticking around.
Yeah. I think a lot of people keep voting for Doug, hoping for Rob. But they never get Rob.
It'd be nice if he
sad.
put some of that same fight and energy into, I don't know, fixing. You guys or Ontario has a pretty bad hospital crisis out there too, like British Columbia. Let's see some of that fight. Everybody's getting so riled up over the tariffs. It's like, where were you this whole time with all of the many issues we have in these provinces that you could have really got excited and championed and fought? before you were getting spanked by Donald Trump.
Right. And I mean, it's to deal with fentanyl, and we'll talk about that later on. To deal with fentanyl is to save Canadian lives. And yet,
Yeah.
everybody's mad because Donald Trump is making them save Canadian lives. It's crazy.
I'm not mad
I
about
just,
that.
yeah, like, but it's, I'm mad that they're mad at Trump. Not mad, but I'm irritated that they're mad at Trump when you should be turning that fire towards your politicians and saying, "What? Yeah, why weren't you saving Canadian lives? Like, why did it
Yeah.
take the threat of economic destruction to get you to care about people's moms, dads, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles who are dying in the streets?"
Yeah. I said it before in our Slack chat that Trump reminds me of my army grandpa who was always threatening to spank you. And it was just as frightening because, like, you never could call his bluff when he was going to do it. But when I got a little bit older, I realized he never actually spanked any of the girls. Like, I noticed it was always the boys. And I was like, you know what? It's not holding any bite. So I hope that's what's happening with the tariffs. It still got us in line, let me tell you, the boys and the girls.
Well, you know, I don't want to say, maybe I am a little Trumpy in my household. When my kids were little, they never knew what I was capable of. And I never really, I would just ask them to behave and ask them to behave. And then I would do something that they didn't expect me to do without warning them, because I shouldn't have to warn you if I asked you to behave. And one of the things my girls always talk about is, remember the time you just threw our ice cream out the window without saying a word? Because they were like swatting each other in the back seat. And so I was like, you know what? I'll just rely on their little reflexes. I reached my hand around, and one of them put their ice cream in my hand. And I just opened the window, threw it out the window. And they were just like bug-eyed in the back seat. They're like, oh my God, what just happened? I'm like, next time, listen.
There you go. And I bet you they did for a while, man.
Yeah.
No,
that's what Trump is doing to us. We really don't know what he's capable of. He's unpredictable. He's moving tariffs. He's threatening tariffs. He's changing the amount of tariffs all the time. We should just maybe do the right thing, not by him, but by Canadians.
Yeah.
And try to mitigate the worst of this. But nope, we're not. Let's get into BC Conservatives keeping the NDP on their toes. Tell us about this.
Well, keeping the NDP on the toes. I mean, on the tariff beat, I didn't actually put this in the link, but I'll just say there's a whole bunch of backlash because there were 5 BC Conservative MLAs that didn't vote to basically condemn everything that Trump is doing with the tariffs and everything like that. So the statement or the claim that's going around on mainstream media is that they fell into a political trap. It was set up, which usually those motions are, like the NDP motions, the same one that happened with the Freedom Convoy. Like, I think it was like 2 years after the convoy, they're like, do you condemn the Freedom Convoy? And only John Rustad said no. So sometimes they are political traps. But what's interesting is I think we're actually just seeing some MLAs be able to vote with their conscience. They're not getting any backlash from their party for doing this, as you can see, which is interesting. So the legacy media is either saying, oh, they fell for the trap, or they're saying, well, can the party survive allowing its free speech stance to continue? Because so it's kind of interesting. But also, BC politics, I don't know if you guys have been following, but it's been crazy. I covered the leadership, or sorry, I should say the election, and I'm still doing coverage on it because it's never ending. But in recent news, just happened just yesterday, I think, the BC Conservatives tried to put forward a vote of non-confidence. Very quickly, considering David Eby dropped the ball with his promise of giving everybody $1,000 for their Christmas tree during the Christmas, and literally like a minute ago just opened up the legislature for them to work after giving all of his MLAs a raise. One of the first things to do here, looks like the Conservatives were just waiting to do this. Now, the vote did not. Yeah, the vote did not pass. The BC Conservatives unanimously went ahead and voted in favor of that. But you had, of course, the NDP and the 2 Greens. So the Green Party basically holds a lot of power with their 2 seats, which is terrifying.
They did it before. They've done it before. They kept the NDP in power before doing this.
Exactly. They thrive in that position. So they voted with the NDP. Not too surprising. I'm not sure if the Conservatives actually thought anything else was going to happen with that. But very interesting.
I think they're relying on the fact that everybody needs, like, if there's not an MLA in the legislature, a couple of MLAs don't show up to work
Right.
that day. And, you know, they frequently don't. Like, if you ever watch the
Yeah.
House of Commons, sometimes they're off doing other stuff. They're on trade missions, whatever. So the Conservatives in the past have very sneakily shoehorned confidence motions into like supply votes and almost caused the government to fall. I think that was what John Rustad was trying to do. And it creates two things, a sense of fear and responsibility to be at work for the NDP.
Something
Like,
they're not
show up. But also shows that he, like, right from the get-go, this is the speech from the throne that he tried to amend with a confidence vote. So it shows that he's like, look, we are ready to hold the NDP to account. If they don't show up for work, guess what? They won't even be government anymore. I love it. It's just instills a real sense of fear into the governing party, and that's how it should be.
And a big reason that they did it, they say, is because they don't believe the NDP is doing what they can to, again, avoid these tariffs, do everything we need. And as I've reported before, British Columbia is the worst culprit. I mean, we were named in that tariff executive order specifically as being the worst when it comes to fentanyl. And that's why we have, you know, fentanyl capital of the world in Vancouver. I think we lost 2,500 people to overdoses in 2023. Like, we're just horrible. And then if you talk about our safer supply experiment that finally the NDP is rolling back, where they were actually giving addicts drugs. You could walk in and leave with the drugs. And of course, what were they doing? They were selling it to the kids around the corner and to organized criminals. Pharmacy kickbacks. We are an absolute mess. So that was a main reason they said, you know what, enough is enough. We need to deal with these issues properly. But more spicy news is there is more claims of voter irregularities coming out of that riding. Now, everybody who followed the election, the BC NDP won the election after like delays and recounts, and one riding is attributed to that. That's the Surrey-Guildford riding that is attributed to giving the NDP their one-seat majority. And in that riding, there have been claims of voter coercion on vulnerable people at Argyle Care Home facility, where every single person who lives there voted by mail when the voting place was across the street, and many of them are mobile and capable. And so, just for history, the candidate of that, Hanvir Randhawa, he has filed a legal petition. He wants to have this under review. And he has two affidavits, not one, but two, where they said they were coerced to vote for the NDP. Now, the new news is now the BC Conservatives have come out with their own affidavit. Get this, from the Green Party candidate, they say, in that riding. So that candidate, after hearing all this, must have been thinking and what, you know what, this isn't okay, because he claims, or she, the name, I don't know if it's a male or a female, but anyways, he says that he went to the care home and they said, nobody votes here. This is a care home facility. So he decided not to leave his brochures. Then he finds out from this, well, everybody somehow voted there. So it's quite crazy. The other twist to it is that the BC Conservatives sort of, their information coming out about this affidavit, which is huge news, was a little bit overshadowed because the NDP has their own affidavit now. Like, this is so spicy, is it not? And their affidavit is saying that one of the clients of the home has schizophrenia, and they're claiming that the BC Conservatives coerced that individual. Now, I happen to know from my interviews with Mr. Randhawa that they purposely recorded it. They're not releasing it, but they purposely recorded everything. Their belief is that that will show there's no coercion. But as you know, John Rustad said, well, if he's incapable of giving a statement that matches somebody else's to being coerced, then how on earth did he vote by mail? Like, how did that happen? Right.
Right. That's such a good point. Even the NDP are scuttling their own argument by saying that he was coerced, and so smart. But Randhawa is a lawyer, right? So wisely recorded his interactions with the people who are involved in the affidavit. That's so smart. But this is so sketchy. Every single one of them voted by mail, even though there's a place right across the street. After the Green candidate was told, "Oh, excuse me, nobody votes here."
Yeah.
This is crazy. I don't know how they can allow this riding's election to stand at this point.
Well, and Elections BC is refusing to investigate, saying, "Oh, we don't want to interfere with any legal proceedings." It's like, I'm sorry, this is what you're supposed to do. Like, this is literally, you should be investigating every situation. So they're actually halting information that he could use for the judge to oversee. And remember, Randhawa, he actually won the riding on election night by just slightly over 100. And then there was a recount, and they said he lost by 22 votes. Well, this home alone had 21 votes by mail.
Isn't
like,
that
it is
convenient?
absolutely insane. So I have been reporting on this like crazy at our website called bcelectionintegrity.com. And we also have like a campaign there where you can demand a proper independent review. So check that out if this interests you. But keep your eyes on BC.
Before we move on, I know we've moved to BC, but there's just one thing I wanted to talk about out of Ontario. They find themselves in a bit of an Alberta situation where their leader of the Liberals, or in Alberta it's the NDP, doesn't have a seat. Bonnie Henry, leader of the Liberals, lost her seat, and she Bonnie Crombie.
Right.
Sorry, did I say Bonnie Henry? It's Bonnie Crombie.
I was like, oh no, screwing up Ontario now.
No, Bonnie Crombie. So many Bonnies. Bonnie Crombie lost her seat. And I believe she was running opposite of Patrick Brown's mother-in-law. So the re-Patrick Brownification of the PC party is nearly complete. And so the Liberal leader, she has said that she has no plans to step down. So if she's unelectable in her own riding, why would she be electable, generally speaking, to the premier's office? This is all just very odd. But what I thought was delightful was, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday, 2:00 in the afternoon. Chrystia Freeland gave her endorsement to get out and vote for the Ontario Liberals and Bonnie Crombie. Make a plan to vote before polls close at 9 p.m.
There you go.
I laugh.
What timing?
With the golden touch of Chrystia Freeland.
Do you think Bonnie was like, oh no, like it's like Trudeau endorsing you at this point? You know what I mean? That would be horrible.
Right. Let's actually hear from Bonnie Crombie after failing to capture a seat in the Ontario legislature. I would love for her to run to be the mayor of Brampton now, because I am enjoying this Crombie Patrick Brown feud. I wish that she wouldn't stay on as Liberal leader and then tries to unseat Patrick Brown, and sort of, as much as I don't want to see the community destroyed by their fighting, I think it could use a bit of a house cleaning there. Anyways, let's listen.
Let's celebrate all our new MPPs that we're going to bring back, and let's celebrate coming back to party status. Ontario, I'm here. I am with you. And I commit to you today that I will stay on.
Weird. What are you going to do?
I don't know, but is it true? I'm just seeing a post here under the video where it says Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie left her position as mayor of Mississauga last year, leaving her city with the highest property taxes in Southern Ontario. And now she's running around claiming she would cut those. That's true?
Yes. Yeah, that's
my
funny for you. She was not great as the mayor of Mississauga, unelectable as the Liberal leader in her own riding, but she's going to stay on. So I guess she's going to do what Naheed Nenshi does and just text his questions for question period to his own MLAs, MPPs there, while he sits in the gallery with the onlookers and the public because he doesn't have a seat. I guess that's what she's going to do. Congratulations, Ontario Liberals. Good job.
I guess.
We've got a clip from Justin Trudeau dismissing Jagmeet Singh's call to ban President Trump from the country as Canada prepares to host the G7 summit.
Jeez. Oh my.
This was and Jagmeet Singh did this at some speech on a foreign relations panel or whatever, and it's like, what are you doing? You're the leader of the third party, fringe party. You don't get a say in anything. You're not the prospective next prime minister, i.e. Carney or Freeland or whatever, or Poilievre, who would be the prime minister after. Who cares what you have to say? All you're doing is making tensions worse. And it was so bad that this guy seems reasonable.
Jagmeet Singh suggested not letting Mr. Trump come to the G7 meeting in Canada because he has a criminal file.
Politicians these days to toss out easy and shocking things to say. We see a lot of it around the world these days. I'm not one of those Canadian politicians that thinks that's a responsible way to lead a country or even carry an important political dialogue.
I'm not one of those politicians. But back to Jagmeet, maybe he just wants another Western world leader to be banned from a country like he is banned from India. So maybe that's what this is all about. He's like, finally, this is my opportunity. But the nerve of Trudeau to sit there and say he's not one of those politicians.
I'm not one of those people who does ridiculous things and says and does ridiculous things for attention. I'm definitely not one of those. Everything he does is ridiculous and for attention. But who the hell does Jagmeet Singh think he is? We will likely not even have Mark Carney as prime minister when the G7 is held in beautiful Kananaskis, Alberta. It'll probably be Prime Minister Pierre Poilievre. And Jagmeet Singh will be the uninfluential leader of the third fringe party, maybe even the fourth, depending on how the bloc picks up steam. So he could be super fringe. No one cares who he is. He probably shouldn't even be the leader anymore. He's basically bankrupted the party. Who cares? Who are you to say these things? And in all of this, he was so crazy, he made Justin Trudeau take the elder statesman approach.
But what that also shows to me is that the bromance is actually dead, I think. I don't even think Trudeau was acting there. It's actually dead. It's over. Maybe that's why he's so close with Macron now.
Well, I think the bromance has moved on from Justin Trudeau to Mark Carney. And the reason I think that is because Justin Trudeau keeps appointing all these parliamentary secretaries, even though he's resigned as leader, even though we're headed into an election, or supposed to be. If you were appointing parliamentary secretaries, you would think that that would be for at least the next year, which leads me to believe that a deal has already been struck between that idiot and Mark Carney to keep the Liberals in power until at least October.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to buy their time. But Jagmeet can get his pension now, right? So,
right. Congratulations.
He's all good.
Congratulations. He's fine. We're not, but that's okay. Yeah. Whatever matters to him. We've got a clip from Imam of Peace, Imam Mohammed Tawhidi. He explains why Islamophobe is not an accurate word. This isn't a press conference. He says it's very rational to fear all terrorists. Yeah, okay. And yet some rich white liberal is going to say that guy's being a racist.
Mm-hmm.
The word Islamophobe is not an accurate word to describe anti-Muslim bigotry. Islam is a religion. Islamists are a new phenomena spanning across several centuries, mainly organizations. They are not the mainstream body of Islam or Muslim communities. And the phobia is an irrational fear. It is very rational to fear ISIS. It is very rational to fear Hamas. It is very rational to fear all terrorists. We fled, us and our families, we fled the Middle East at a time where dictatorships governed our countries of origin, and we fled because of the presence of these very militants and terrorists were ruling our streets. We are Muslims. We cannot be considered Islamophobes for rejecting the hatred that threatens us and our communities. We are, in fact, defenders of the faith, defenders of our communities, and people who care very deeply about the direction and reputation of the religion. And we refuse to have it politicized. What the government can do, in my view, is to see who exactly is pushing the Islamophobia narrative and what benefit are they gaining from it. Because the average Muslim does not gain from a Islamophobia industry. Average Muslims want to make a living and feed their family and lead a regular, normal life.
That was so good. So overdue, too. You know what I mean? Oh.
Yeah, that's completely reasonable. That respects freedom of religion without compromising public safety. There are plenty of religions that recognize they have extremist outliers.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently you cannot point out that also exists in Islam without being called a name. And surely some liberal far left activist today is going to try to explain to us why the Imam of Peace is actually just a white Christian male. they're gonna do their best.
Right. Yeah, he's what did they say before with the whole standing against the sexualization of kids? When the Muslims came out, they said that they were falling victim of alt-right American politics. That's what they're going to say. They'll blame Trump.
Couldn't possibly think for themselves. I don't know. I think we've got to hit an ad break. I'll do an ad read. We'll hit a Rebel News ad break, and then we'll come back in to, I don't know, we'll figure it out after the break. But first, a message from our friends at Rumble and 1775coffee.com. Have you heard of the recent advertising scandal? Let me break it down. CEO of Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, recently released an email from Inspire Brands and Dunkin Donuts. The email explicitly states that the right-wing culture of Rumble is too polarizing. In other words, Dunkin Donuts has a problem with right-wing culture and wants nothing to do with it or Rumble. Excuse me, Dunkin Donuts, but Starbucks already exists. You don't have to be Starbucks. So here's the solution. Stop buying products that don't support you and start supporting brands that support you. The competing coffee brand that we all need to get behind is Rumble 1775 Coffee. For a limited time, Rumble is offering buy 2 bags of coffee and get one free. Go to 1775coffee.com, enter promo code Duncan. I love that. To get this limited time deal. All right, let's hit the ad break. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, not to mention Dunkin Donuts is sitting on its high horse, but in reality, eating a donut is like one of the most unhealthy things you can do. So what are they contributing to society with their product? Like, they're going to come after Rumble? Like, come on.
They're the blue collar coffee brand too. That's why I say, look, they're like, Starbucks is already there for the baristas and the blue hairs. Yeah. You don't need to go. You don't need to be that. Like, you're the equivalent of Tim Hortons. And so why jettison your customer base? I don't understand it. Go woke, go broke, as they say. Let's hit an ad break so we don't go broke.
I've got a better idea than tariffs. What would an America First strategy for Canada-U.S. trade look like? Is there room for a Trump-style mega deal even bigger than Greenland? A dozen years ago, I wrote a best-selling book called Ethical Oil, The Case for Canada's Oil Sands, which made the liberal argument that the oil sands are the fair trade coffee of the world's oil industry. In my new book, Deal of the Century, I look at Canada-U.S. trade through an America First lens, and I come to the conclusion that far from putting tariffs on Canadian oil, Donald Trump should ink a 50-year, $13 trillion deal to buy all 170 billion barrels of Canada's oil sands, shutting out China and giving Canada the means to pay for a rebuilt military. And as for yanking Trudeau's chain, well, he'll be gone as prime minister in a few weeks, but I've got a better suggestion for how Trump can slap Trudeau around a bit without hurting America's economic interests. That's in the book too. Get your copy now at dealofthecenturybook.com. And trust me, Trudeau doesn't want you to see this.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Okie doke. So let's get into, continue on our devolving relationship with the Americans. Now, this is from The Spectator, and it's with Ben Domenech of The Spectator. He's more of a Bush Romney style Republican. And part of their interview together, I wish there were audio, but there isn't. It touches on Freeland and Poilievre. And, Poilievre has, I guess, done the best that he can do by saying, we're obviously against these American tariffs. We don't want jobs going to the United States. I think he sort of came out swinging at the beginning saying this is something that Trudeau did to us. But I really think he should focus more on that. We would not be in this situation if Trudeau had done the things that he needed to do for Canada.
Yeah.
But, sometimes he takes a swipe across Trump's bow. I don't think that's smart. He should take more of the Danielle Smith approach, where she just is like a laser beam on doing the things she needs to do to keep Albertans safe, grow our economy, and attack the Liberals. Poilievre's been a little softer on that. Anyway, Ben asks Trump about Freeland, and we'll just read this together. Gather round. This is story time with Sheila. Chrystia Freeland up in Canada, who was doing a debate. She's trying to lead the Liberal Party up there now into this election. And she said that there needs to be a nuclear alliance with other European nations and Japan against the United States because you're predatory. And she definitely did say that. She used the word predatory.
Wow.
Donald Trump said, she's terrible. I'll tell you what, I know her very well. So do we. And yes.
It's embarrassing.
Then Ben says, I'm sorry. And he says, I know her very well. She's absolutely terrible for the country. She's incompetent in many respects and can only cause ill will for Canada. Yes, I agree. She's very confrontational. I call him Governor. Governor Trudeau understood that, and he actually fired her because of a meeting he had with me. I think maybe there might be some truth to that. I said, she is so bad. She's bad for the country. If she were talented, I know people that are sort of bad people, but they do a good job running a country. Who's going to get the nomination, do you think? Ben says, I don't know. After that debate, she was the nuttiest, but they all seemed pretty nutty to me. Donald Trump says, she's a whack. She's a wacko, actually. Buy the shirt, rebelnewsstore.com. Actually, that'd be fun. She's a whack. The Conservatives obviously have taken a hit in the polls since some of the comments that I'm glad Ben pointed this out to him, because this is true. You're not helping. The Conservatives have obviously taken a hit in the polls since some of the comments that you made that the Liberals have leaned into. Do you think that they're still going to be able to pull it out up there? Trump says, well, I think his biggest problem, this is on Poilievre, is that he's not a MAGA guy. Well, no, he's a Canadian, Trump.
Right.
Right. Like he should be Canada first. Like you take the approach that you just took with Gretzky and said, Gretzky's a great Canadian. He loves his country. He's able to love his country. Now, feel the same way about Poilievre, if you wouldn't mind. I mean, he's not really a Trump guy at all. No, he's a Canada guy. Ben says he's more of a throwback Republican. Now, Ben, I think, is more of a throwback Republican, too. Donald Trump says he's different. Make it a big mistake. They all make that mistake, you know. They think they're going to be the tough guy and they're going to knock out Trump, and they end up getting the hell beat out of them. So, I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you, Pierre. I just don't know. I don't like what he's saying about me. It's just not positive about me. I don't know.
It sounds a little narcissistic, but
okay, we don't have to worship at your feet. And we've all done a great job. We got elected when I would say the odds were pretty much against. I always felt, you know, it's very interesting. People say the greatest comeback in political history. Like you said, I don't even view it as a comeback. The election of 2020 was rigged. Look, YouTube, I'm just reading. Don't come at me. It was a rigged election, totally rigged, and I don't forget that either, totally rigged. But this one was much bigger. This, I will say, a lot of people say that historically this is much bigger than we had done the traditional way. Okay, so he doesn't like that Poilievre is taking the pro-Canada approach. But as Canadians, we definitely, like I've said from the beginning, find a politician who loves you and your country as much as Trump loves his people in his country, and then elect that person. Because we definitely have never felt that from Trudeau. I actually feel like Poilievre loves this country and wants to serve it for some other reason than he feels it's his birthright, which is the Trudeau reason.
Well, I hope that's true. I sincerely hope that's true. And I was slightly or a little bit annoyed that it seemed like, you know, we were getting the same thing from all sides when it came to the tariffs thing. But I did just share a video of an approach that Poilievre has taken more recently. And I do think it's a Canada first approach. And I think that is how he should approach it. And you're right. That's what we want. We want a leader who's like Trump, that's just going to fix everything up, just get rid of the nonsense. I don't know if Poilievre is, you know, showing those cards as strong as he could be, but I hope that if he wins, we will see it. But this, I like this. This is Canada first.
Okay, let's watch.
And this is how he should tackle it.
We are the second biggest landmass in the world, 41 million brilliant people, the third biggest supply of oil, fifth biggest supply of natural gas, biggest supply of uranium and potash. We have the biggest supply of fresh water anywhere on Earth, the fifth biggest supply of farmland. We should be the richest nation on Earth.
Yes.
These tariffs are a wake-up call that it is time for us to meet our potential. It is time for us to be a country that can trade with itself, a country that builds homes quickly for its youth, a country that allows entrepreneurs to succeed quickly and profitably so that success is once again rewarded, a country that allows hard work to pay off, a country that harvests its own resources, that secures its borders to protect its people, that builds its military to protect its sovereignty. We will always put Canada first, today, tomorrow, and forever. Let's bring it home.
Yeah, that's exactly the message. That's exactly the message.
That's it.
And fighting with our American friends will not help us achieve those goals at all.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, more of that.
I can't, I mean, let's all not be what Justin Trudeau says is the defining feature of being a Canadian. And that is, oh, then we're not Americans. That we just exist as some sort of counterfoil to our Americans. We exist in no small part because the Americans are our friends. We have a failed border, a decrepit military, not enough housing, a damaged economy. If they weren't nice to us, we just wouldn't exist. They could come and take us. And they don't, and they haven't, and we should act that way.
But we do have tampons in the men's bathrooms in the military.
Right.
So we're good.
Right. And pronouns in every government email. Every single one. Priorities, you guys. Priorities. All right. What's the next story here? We did story time with Sheila. Oh, Charlie Angus. Charlie Angus No, let's do Trump on Canadian fentanyl. I talked about this yesterday with, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday with Tamara. I'm like, they appointed the fentanyl czar, and then they're like, done, fix, no problem. I'm like, what has he done? Apparently nothing, because I can't see anything tangible. And more importantly, the Americans don't see anything tangible. And here's my problem with all of this. If you like, I realize that Trump wants to deport all the illegals. Now, I think his concern is we're going to deport them. They're just going to go into Canada and try to come across the border again. So it makes sense for him to want to for us to secure our border to stop all the deportees from funneling back into Canada through the northern border. Anyway, but we're not dealing with the fentanyl. I can't see anything tangible being done outside of places like Alberta. Neither can Trump. So let's watch this.
From the talks with Canada and Mexico so far, are you not seeing the progress that you wanted in order to?
I don't see it at all. No, not on drugs. We've done a great job. If you look at Tom Homan, he's been incredible, and Christie, they've done a great job in terms of the border. But the drugs continue to pour into our country, killing hundreds of thousands of people. We're losing substantially more than 100,000 people. I mean, dead. They're dead. The families are destroyed after that happens. So it's not just that. That's the ultimate. But the families are absolutely destroyed. The drugs come in through Mexico. They come, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them come from China. And that's why we did that. It's 10 plus 10. In
10
case,
plus 10
was there confusion on that?
There was, sir. Yeah.
Okay, 10 plus 10. It's a second 10. And I think you're going to see, eventually you're going to see drugs stopping, because the country should not be allowing those drugs to come into the United States of America. And we're not going to allow it to happen. So that goes on the 4th of March. And then on the 2nd of April, we have reciprocal tariffs. That's reciprocal, where we charge countries what they're charging us. And nobody should have a problem with that. We have reciprocal. It's reciprocity. It's something that I think everybody I've spoken to said that's fair, and it is. If somebody charges us 25%, we charge them 25. If somebody charges us 10 or 15 or 30 or 70, we charge them an exact like amount. And it's pretty simple, but it's reciprocal tariffs, because the United States has been taken advantage of by many, many different countries, including our friends, friend and foe. And in many cases, our friends took bigger advantage of. When you talk about the EU, we're talking about the EU. The EU has been really very bad to us in terms of trade. And I'm a different kind of a president. I can't let that happen.
I'm a different kind of a president.
And in the meantime, we're out here trying to fix things in Alberta while Justin Trudeau just appoints a guy to a well-paid position, and then the guy's like, okay, thanks. Now that I'm here, everything's solved, but then absolutely does nothing. He's like, great, here's my office. I'm going to stare out the window and do nothing. Like, even if he is doing stuff, why don't we know that he's doing stuff? Because I think that's the most important thing. I should be able to say the 5 things the drug czar did in the month since he's been appointed. I know nothing. In the meantime, in Alberta, and now as a knock-on effect, our friends in Saskatchewan, it's like one does one thing, then the other one, and it just goes back and forth, right? We have announced two 150-bed, basically drug jails. So we will forcibly confine you if you won't go to treatment and you're dangerous. And now Saskatchewan is considering the same thing. So the will is there in Alberta. We're dealing with fentanyl at the border and drugs and people trafficking at the border. Saskatchewan is doing its best to do the same. We're trying to talk to the Americans, and Danielle Smith is, Scott Moe is too. It is very frustrating to see that the Canadian economy is going to be decimated because we have a foreign affairs department, a foreign affairs minister who is unwilling to do the work that we are.
Every province should be looking at Alberta as well as Saskatchewan, but of course they're not, especially not your neighbors over here in British Columbia. Although I think that British Columbia is scrambling, and maybe part of the reason why we don't know what's happening is because there's that fear of admitting fault, that fear of like like these are all the areas that we have been lacking at in this whole time. I feel like that's what's happening in British Columbia. They are making some changes, but not admitting any fault. For example, again, I mentioned it earlier, but the safer supply agenda, we know that has been getting diverted. I think I did a report on it like a year ago. BC Conservative MLA Eleanor Storko, a former RCMP officer, was sounding the alarm on it. Meanwhile, Trudeau's RCMP was saying there's no such thing. It's all a myth. I just interviewed a father and his late daughter's best friend because his 14-year-old daughter overdosed from safer supply. But they've been treating him like he's a conspiracy theorist this whole time. So they've stopped the safer supply take home. It did take the tariff threats, and it took a leaked document of a meeting where they get caught knowing about it. But they're also seeming to do some things, like there's the investigation that's happening on over 60 pharmacies that have been getting some sort of kickback. And it's been proven, out of everything we know, correlating with the tariff threat, that it was just benefiting organized criminals that have been going on. And they don't check, like the crates that come through, I think it's like 1% or something that they're checking.
Yeah.
So one more thing. So when they're saying this is how much we've caught, you're not checking. You're not checking most of the things that are getting trafficked through.
Yeah, multiply that by 100, I guess, is the moral of the story. I think the one good thing for Alberta and the terrible thing for BC is that we have completely opposite drug approaches. Completely opposite. We've ramped up a control at the border. We're not doing safe supply. We are ramping up treatment beds. We're building treatment beds on reserve, which should be the federal government's responsibility, but people are dying and they need help. So we're doing it as a province. Moving towards forcible confinement of dangerous drug addicts. And so we get to measure what's happening here against the free-for-all in BC. And we can see that we are saving lives, stopping overdoses, and returning people back to their families. And it's unfortunate for BC's NDP government because we're over here in Alberta saying we can be done. People can be returned to their families. They can get clean. There is hope. And we refuse to give up hope on those people. And in the meantime, we're dealing with the trafficked safe supply from BC ending up in the hands of dead Albertans. Anyway,
I'm going to read.
Thanks for being crazy.
I'm going to read a super chat for those of you who are tuning in and missed the beginning of our live stream here. We are now monetized again on YouTube, and you can super chat and be a part of this conversation. So Vito Anthony D says, how? When did you get your super chat back? Great. Yes, it is great. It can help us stay alive. So thanks for donating and bringing that. You guys can join into the conversation. My theory for how it happened is, instead of being like Zuckerberg and just totally, acting like you're someone who you're not, YouTube is just quietly remonetizing people because they're terrified of what Trump's going to do when he says, wait a second, for the last, I don't know, was it 3 years, 4 years, you've demonetized this news outlet, this independent news outlet. So that's my theory about how we are remonetized.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I mean, it was some editorial work to get ourselves remonetized, and there will be instances where there will be things that we cannot talk about on the live stream or on our channel in our videos, but rest assured you will get the full version of whatever that is over on Rumble, a great free speech platform that doesn't care what you think, which is how I think you want it to be. But it was a fair bit of work. Now, YouTube, to their credit, they have clarified their terms of service, because before they were like, you violated our terms of service. And we're like, can you just point to whichever one that was so that we don't do it again? And they're like, it's there. And you're like, I don't know what I said wrong. I don't want to say it again. But they would never really tell you. Now they've made it, there's some ambiguity. I think that's purposeful, but there's more clarity. So we like, you'll notice on the live stream, particularly with David, I have to say, like, David, You're in the danger zone.
That's always though. That's always the thing.
That's David leaves the house. He's in the danger zone. But there was some work, and I do think that the Alphabet company, which is Google, YouTube, which is an enormous company, I think they're really worried about being trust busted by Donald Trump, because at this point they are the world's largest and second largest search engines, like Google itself and then YouTube. And so imagine the amount of power that they hold to show you things or to control what you find when you Google or search something on YouTube. And so I think they're really worried about Donald Trump saying, you know what, your company's a little bit too big. You're approaching monopoly status. You're going to have to break it apart, sell off parts of the company. And I think they're just trying to say, like, we're trying to be fair, so don't trust bust us, bro. And so I think this, and again, who knows how long it's going to last? I don't. Yeah. You know what? If we're remonetized still at the end of the day, I'm going to be surprised. Every day I remain surprised when they're like, oh, we still take super chats. Okay, it's surprising.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got a quick message from Sticker Pack, and then let's get into Jagmeet, or no, sorry, Charlie Angus acting like a lunatic on the street. Oh, Charlie Angus. Like Trudeau, he just won't go quietly. So this message is from our friends at Sticker Pack. Do we want to do an ad break after this, Olivia, or Efron? Sorry, Olivia's off. Or do you want to just keep going? Okay. No, you choose. You choose. Okay, we'll do a 30-second ad break after this. So these, I should tell you, are absolutely free, and I love stickers. Are you ready to show your support in style? Sticker Mule has a fantastic offer just for you. For a limited time, you can grab free Trump stickers. Yes, you heard that. Free. Whether you want to decorate your laptop, car, or office space, these high-quality, durable stickers are perfect for making a statement. Just imagine how great they'll look, and they're super easy to apply. Here's how it works. Head on over to stickerpack.com. That's PAC, like Political Action Committee. Sign up and claim your free stickers and watch the fun or screeching unfold, depending on where you stick that sticker. Don't miss out on this exclusive offer. Stock is limited, so act fast. Spread the word. Let your voice be heard with Sticker Mule's awesome stickers. Once again, visit stickerpack.com today. Grab your free Trump stickers before they're gone. Let's hit an ad break, and then we'll go back. I think we'll just have time to touch on Charlie Angus not going quietly into the sweet goodnight.
I'm in Brazil, so I'm using a VPN to get on the internet. What's a VPN? It stands for a virtual private network, and you get around these government firewalls. Suddenly, the president of Brazil banned his whole country from going on Twitter. It was a political censorship move. I've downloaded the VPN from a company called PIA VPN. We've teamed up with them at Rebel, and it's a great deal. I got on the internet really quickly, safely, and even I'm a bit of a technophobe. I managed to figure it out with 2 clicks. And here's the great news. If you go to piavpn.com/Rebel News, not only do you get a big discount, but they pay us a bit of a commission too. Everyone's a winner. Your freedom, your VPN, and a little bit of cash coming to support Rebel News. I'm using it myself to get around the censors in Brazil. You can use it too. That's piavpn.com/Rebel News.
All right, let's go into Charlie Angus. He was on the Amazon workers picket line. Was it a picket line? I don't know. He's calling for a Canada-wide boycott of Amazon. I'll tell you why, definitely, even though I don't care for Jeff Bezos' politics, while I'll never engage. Oh, this is a press conference. He was out on the street acting crazy. Later. Charlie Angus is an NDP lifer. I can't even believe he's retiring because I just thought he would die in his seat in the House of Commons. He's an apologist for all manner of corruption. He is just the most unhinged socialist. And here he is deriding Amazon, Elon Musk, President Trump, VP Vance. Thankfully, he's just in the third party, so nobody cares what he thinks except that he continues to embarrass us on an international scale.
I want to begin this morning by thanking everyone who stood up to defend our nation from the oligarchs and the rising tyranny and fascism that we're seeing coming out of the Elon Musks, the Jeff Bezos, the Donald Trumps, the J.D. Vances, the people who've supported and initiated the boycott. This is not a boycott that came from politicians. This is a boycott that came from ordinary Canadians who understand what's on the line here. But today I'm asking all Canadians to come and show their solidarity with their Quebec brothers and sisters, because what has happened in Quebec under Jeff Bezos is a crime against our country. Doesn't this guy have enough money that he decides that the workers who have a right to proper wages, proper working conditions, safe working conditions, that he's just going to shut those plants down and walk away after the government gave over $100 million in subsidies? I'm not hearing anything from the government that gave that, from the subsidized electricity that he got, from all the changes that Amazon was given in the land planning so that they could set up their operations. And now they're just going to walk on us? I don't think so. And for my friends all across Canada who are watching Jeff Bezos laugh at us as he puts up his Canada 51st state gear and swag on Amazon to sell, to make fun of us and our nation, this is the time to draw a line in the sand. Tomorrow is the national boycott of all things American and capitalist American. But the boycott of Amazon has to be more than one day. It has to be a total, full-on boycott. And we're calling on the federal government to show up as well. Are you going to just let Jeff Bezos trash our workers, trash our communities, take the subsidies and walk away because he hates the fact that Canadian workers will stand up for their rights? Where is the Liberal government right now?
Is he crazy? Like he's saying that you can't sell certain things on Amazon. Does he understand how Amazon works? There are sellers on Amazon, and then there are also Amazon also sells their stuff too. It's a marketplace, and he's like, Jeff Bezos is putting up 51st state stuff. Pretty sure he's not. He's just allowing other people. He's so crazy now. I'm defending Jeff Bezos.
I know.
What happened here?
The comments are on, they're pretty lit in there. I think I shared a picture. They keep comparing him to
I was literally just sharing that. I was like, that looks like Bram Stoker's Dracula's hair. I was literally just sending that exact thing.
Like, that's all people are seeing the entire time he's talking about.
Yes. Oh God. Yes, I see it. Oh, we lost Drea. That's okay. I did also say that he looks like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, I was literally Googling that as we were watching. I'm like, I know those man buns. I would know those anywhere. We have to stay on Charlie Angus. By the way, I want to tell you, I'm not boycotting Amazon, not because I like Jeff Bezos. I quickly am becoming indifferent to Jeff Bezos. Now that the Democrats are not in power, Jeff Bezos knows what side of his bread is buttered, and he's sort of distancing himself from his own past political opinions. But a lot of people were screwed over before Christmas by Charlie Angus's union buddies in Canada Post. So it is a lot quicker, easier, and cheaper to just order your stuff on Amazon. And maybe if Charlie Angus's union buddies hadn't screwed over the country before Christmas, maybe more people would do some online shopping and then default to Canada Post-based retailers. But they're not doing that anymore, and that's the union's fault, and the NDP for, of course, propping them up. Before we move away from Charlie Angus, and I just want to touch on this last little thing from Poilievre that just came out. Oh, Dre is back. Good. Charlie Angus was confronted on the street because Charlie Angus, he, as you heard there, he hates Elon Musk, and he is the sponsor of a petition to revoke Elon Musk's citizenship because Elon Musk is working with the Trump administration to, for free, by the way, to scale down the bloat of the American government. And since the NDP just loves the explosion of government, they don't like that. They don't like that some rich person might not be a leftist. That's abhorrent to them. And so anyways, instead of wanting to claim Elon Musk as one of ours, right? Like it should be a moment of pride that this guy who is just blew $50 billion because he cared about free speech on a dying company named Twitter and turned it into something that's robust and growing, who is going to go to Mars, who is a visionary, a futurist. They don't want him because his politics are wrong. Like, we should be proud to claim him as one of ours. But anyways, Charlie Angus is sponsoring this growing petition of crybabies and weirdos. And he was confronted on the street by Desi Media outside the Russian embassy, as if. That's so perfect. This Soviet weirdo, Charlie Angus, was outside the Russian embassy and he had a complete meltdown. Let's be careful. If you are sensitive to language, this might not be for you, because Charlie Angus is dropping the F-bombs all over the place.
Oh my gosh.
Is this Mr. Angus? How you doing today?
Good, man. How you doing? We got some questions.
We certainly do.
See you here. We're hoping to see some progress.
A little bit of a photo op here.
And we're hoping that we're going to see some peace forthwith.
Absolutely. As soon as Putin is put in jail as an international war criminal, we'll get all the peace you want.
Are we not going to have peace until then?
But you support war criminals? Go ahead.
I want the war to stop.
Criminals. Yeah, go on. Fuck off, Putin troll.
Putin troll.
Yes, you do. If you don't stand with Ukraine, then you're a fascist.
Okay.
So don't waste
Do you
my
think
time talking.
Do you think it's fascistic to threaten to take away Canadian citizenship because you don't agree with their political leaning?
Right.
Do you think that's appropriate?
Good question.
Convoy troll.
What about political violence, sir? You're a well-known supporter of Antifa. I have been the victim of this.
Yeah, you know Antifa?
Yes.
My uncles fought fascists all over Europe. They'd fight your fascists.
So you support the violent Antifa mobs in Ottawa. I have been the victim of violence from them. I was jumped.
You're a moron.
Because I'm a moron. So you're saying I deserve the violence from Antifa? I was jumped, robbed, and beaten.
Ooh, you're a Putin troll.
I was jumped, robbed, and beaten in a
Fuck
park.
off, Putin troll. Fuck off,
Do you
Putin
think that's
troll.
appropriate?
Fuck off, Putin troll.
Wow.
Yeah, you stand outside the Russian embassy and
I
repeat
came here
Putin's talking
specifically to
points.
see you.
Fuck off,
I came
Putin
here
troll.
for you. You and your party, actually, Peter Julian called me an extremist in the House of Commons.
Yeah,
He
you
said
are.
my watermark is extremist without
You are an
evidence.
extremist.
How so? Can you provide any evidence
Yeah,
to
you're
that, sir?
standing outside here supporting Putin, you fucking
I came here to confront you on your terrible policy. I want to know why you think it's appropriate to strip citizens of citizenship.
That's right.
That we're going to get our money back too, or is that a grant? Was that a grant? I
Get a
retired
job.
when I was young. I made my
Putin
money before I was
troll.
30. I don't need a job, okay? My job is dealing with you.
Yeah, you're a
My job is
fascist.
dealing with you.
You're a
Are we gonna get our money
fascist.
back?
You're a fascist.
So your answer is no. We're not getting our money back. Let me ask you this: do you support Ukraine going into NATO? What about NATO?
I support Ukraine.
You think they
I
should be in
support
NATO?
Ukraine.
I want to hear you say you think they should be in NATO.
You support Putin fascist. You're a Putin fascist.
He literally is Dracula. Like he looks like a demon while he's talking to these
Right.
people.
But yeah, like he's out there. Chris Stacey is not there to support Russia. But he's like, you're here to support Russia. He didn't say anything absolutely pro-Russian whatsoever.
No.
All he said to him was, like, do you think it's fascist to revoke people's birthright citizenships based on their political opinions? By the way, that's fascism.
That is.
In case you're wondering. And he's like, you're a fascist. You're a Putin troll. Why? Why? Because you don't believe in stripping people's citizenships? Like, it's the laziest form of argumentation. And that guy is the NDP brain trust. He's considered the best and brightest of the NDP.
Terrifying. And you can see right in the same breath that he calls him a Russian troll or whatever, or Putin troll, he calls them a convoy troll too. So it's just like the same people that push the narrative about the freedom community. Look, I'm actually in shock. I don't know. That was worse than the Elizabeth May drunken rant on the stage. You know what I mean? That goes up there. Like, why are we this embarrassing? Why are we like this?
Right. And like telling people to get a job. Aren't you the NDP? Don't you believe in like the state supporting everybody?
Right.
By the way, you don't know if those people are unemployed, but if they are employed, I'll bet you a buck it's in the private sector, you government vampire. Like, what is wrong with that guy? Like, just all he could say is, you're a fascist. You're a fascist. You're the guy acting like a fascist, wanting to revoke somebody's birthright citizenship because you disagree with their political opinions. That's fascism. Anyway.
Well, we have a couple more super chats to read. One is from Kenzie67, donates $5. Thank you very much. And says, Teresa Tam's emails from December 2019 are being released on X, all 450,000 of them. Call out for people to help sift through them. See donaldbest.ca. Well, we will definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think Tamara's sort of paying attention to that as Canada's premier health journalist in without comparison. I think those originally came out to Brett Sears. If you know what, I would not have asked for all of her emails from December, by the way. I would have narrowed that based on keyword, but that's just, you know what, whatever. It's just
Tamara's on it.
Cast a wide net, see what you catch, I guess. Vito Anthony D gives us $2. Okay,
I read that one.
Yeah. And Yuta Bursey. Yuta clarified for me because I never knew how to say her name. I was like, I think it's a Y. So Yuta Bursey says, watch Bonnie Crombie show run in the next federal election. Darn right. I said that yesterday with was it yesterday with David? Whatever. I said, because he's like, what's going to happen to Bonnie Crombie? And, you know, I did, of course, suggest that maybe she should go and throw her gloves off and try to unseat Patrick Brown in Brampton. But then I was like, no, actually, I bet you that she runs in the next federal election. So she doesn't care.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. We've got we'll end with this statement from Pierre Poilievre on President Trump saying that he's not MAGA. And he's saying, Mr. President, it is true. I'm not MAGA. I'm for Canada first and always. Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Exactly that. Sure. Yes, that's acceptable. Let's watch this quick ad. I haven't seen it yet, so we're watching it together.
Let me be clear. We will never be the 51st state. We will bear any burden and pay any price to protect the sovereignty and independence of our country.
Okay, that's fair enough. As long as it involves beefing up the military, securing our borders, stopping gangs, guns, and drugs coming across the border. Okay. All right.
And terrorists.
Yeah. And terrorists, you know, that's fine. But again, at the same time, like, what do you want him to say? He's not running to be the prime minister of Alberta, where we would be like, no, could we just have a conversation with the Americans about what we're going to do? He's, you know, like, he's running in parts of the country that are like less disgruntled as Alberta and Saskatchewan. So, you know, he's got to make the appeal to them. We're not going to vote any more conservative or any less conservative. We're just going to continue to vote blue out here. So he's got to sort of appeal to the other parts of the country. And I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. It's a political game. But yeah, like, he is running to be the Prime Minister of Canada. Yeah. What do you expect him to say?
Exactly.
Anyway, what do you got here? Oh, that's your picture of Charlie Angus as Gary Oldman playing old Dracula.
My brothers used to call me Bram Stoker because
really?
my mom would put these horrible buns in my hair at night.
Space buns.
Yeah. Or Predator, which is not fun.
Yeah. That's funny. Okay, I think that's it, right, Efron? Yeah. Okay, Drea, you wrap her up.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in with us. It was so nice to be on the Rebel Roundup. Sheila, you did a great job hosting as usual. And Efron, I thought you were on vacation, but somehow you're still working as a producer. Maybe I got that wrong. So thank you for everybody who helped out. And as the great David Menzies would say, stay sane, I think.
Yeah.